Today I wanted to do a little experiment making something like a morning glory bud specifically. I've got a lot of this 1/2 inch square tubing. Looks like it has about a 14 gauge wall. And I made a little tool out of 3/8 square solid that'll fit in there as a twisting aid apparatus. So I heat about 1 inch. Then I'm going to give it a quick 90-degree turn. Then I'm going to cool that because I know that if I try to extend that heat right now, it'll just twist this first section more than I want, even though the other will be hotter. I'm going to put it in a little quench bucket. Of course, that reminds us that anytime you're quenching home stock, be careful not have that tube pointed at you because that hot steam is going to come right back at the face. So this heat will work up about 1 inch above, just leading into the first twist. And to keep the heat hanging down so I don't get up into my handle up here. Try to get an even heat, but that's a little hard with thin wall material. I'll come around 180 degrees. Take the wire brush, clean it up so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to leave about 1/2 inch of the tube at the top not heated, and then I'm going to try to really speed up the twist in this area, because eventually it'll just plan to twist it right off. Heat mostly above the waist, but it's going to break wherever it's thinnest or hottest or weakest, whatever. Fix that there. And we've got kind of a short little bud like so. So try to do a little bit more forging with that. I found this little taper die. Looks like it was originally set up for the forging press. Get about a 1-pound hammer. And I'll heat this and see what I can do with forging that into a tapered point a little bit better. Probably would have been easier with 1/2 inch square solid. But maybe you'd have a little fence project or grill or something where you needed the 1/2 inch square tube and you wanted to have some sort of finial treatment on it. This might have some sort of usefulness. I'm spinning with the twist as I forge that down to a taper. I tend to tighten the twist up a little bit. Of course, it's going to flatten the edges that were originally rather rounded, but that'll give it more of a forged look. Okay, that's about what I want for the taper end of the bud. Now I'm going to bring the forging back down toward the dimensional stock a little bit. You can see that little bit of detail. On the next step, what I want to do is sort of fuller this below the beginning of the twist to neck off the base of the bud right just about where the sepal would be. And we'll do that again with torch heat. I'll heat about a 1/2 inch length fairly evenly if possible, and then use a Hardy gate fuller, which I don't use very often. If I were going to do a production piece of work, I'd move quickly to the power hammer for all of that sort of thing. But for this test, we'll be using this old tool. And I'll pick up the size of my hammer a little bit, about a 2.5 pound hammer. And this is what I call a gate handle. It opens and closes, swinging like a gate. Some people still call that a guillotine fuller. Now with most hollow form fullering operations, it's a matter of easy does it. Go slow at first, get the line of collapse well established, then you can speed up as we work further along. You can see I've barely broken the corners at this stage, but I can see it is in the right position. Gives me a little narrower target for my torch heat, and we'll try to get about halfway to finished on the next heat. It's just my impression that on the first heat you really don't need a lot, because the tendency will be to collapse too far too fast. But mostly for control, and on the last heat I get it pretty hot and just close it right up. You see I've got at the heel there a couple of little sharp edges, and I'll just put a little heat on that. We'll put it back in the V-taper swedge block and just knock that down the round a little bit nicer. Alright, wire brush it a little bit. So it has a reasonably pleasing organic form. With a little practice, could probably make it look nicer yet, but this is just to determine feasibility. If I cut it off maybe an inch back, then that actually might allow cutting that excess portion and forging it back into something that might resemble a sepal. Be 4 points instead of 5, but that'd be all right. So that's what I'm going to continue with right now and see how that might work. I'm going to try to, I've already taken the zip disc and cut this on the corners and cold pulled them out. I'm going to try to lock this in the vise and use a little torch heat and a chisel and see if I can carry that line down a little closer to the actual fuller point. Maybe have enough length that I can forge these into little tapers and then fold them up. So there's the chisel we're going to use, there's the hammer. Sure enough, I did gain a little bit of length. I'm not going to worry about a cold shut. I don't really care whether it folds up on the top or the bottom. Alright, so that's the finished product. I MIG welded a little stem on there, then I used the same cutting tip that I was using earlier to heat. Turned it back to reducing flame where I could sort of melt the weld junction, make it a little bit smoother. And now I'm going to show an alternative for hot waxing for just quick things like a shop specimen. That's probably still 800 degrees or so. And if I spray the Minwax clear satin when that dries, it'll look very similar to hot waxing, and it'll give it enough protection that it can be kept as a shop specimen without getting rusty.